Awesome, and we are live. Hey y'all, how y'all doing? It's crazy doing this after book launch because I was going like 3, 4. I think one day I did about 6 live streams, and now I don't do more than one a day. And so I know that I miss you guys. I miss hearing your questions. I miss engaging with you. And so I'm excited to be back with you today. And I have a very special guest with me. He is phenomenally brilliant. Had an opportunity to be on his show, and man, we just connected. It was so natural and free flowing, and I was like, man, I would love to have you on mine to talk about this topic of being burnt out. I have some specific questions that we're going to get into today. You're going to learn a little bit more about his story. I'm going to read his official bio in a second, but I want to let you know what you can expect. Okay. So remember, as I read his official bio, that's your time to host a watch party, to click that share button wherever you're watching online. And that way you can share this information with others. So we're going to talk about, how do you set boundaries so that you can avoid burnout? Nobody wants to burn out. I remember my pastor told me one time, he said, Darryll, God didn't call you to burn out. He called you to burn bright. Yeah. And it's funny because there's some language like that in your book, Dr. Moody. And so I want to talk about how to avoid burnout, and especially for those people who are dealing with home life boundaries when there's no separation between the physical space. And then also I want to get into this topic of transition. Athletes are in transition, and there's a lot of stuff you wrote in your book about setting the vision. And I want to share that with our guests. So let me introduce you to my good friend, Dr. Jeff Moody. He is a board certified UCLA-trained practicing urologist with over 20 years of experience and has served on numerous local, state, and national healthcare organizations. Dr. Moody knows the warning signs and challenges of burnout personally, which is why he's on here today. He's lived through the diagnosis, the treatment, and most importantly, the recovery. In addition, his book, The Doctor is Burned Out, Dr. Moody supports his colleagues by sponsoring a monthly physician burnout support group, which I would love to talk more about. So remember, click that share button and remember to ask your questions. And our team is ready to engage with you as we get into this story. My commercials are done for now. But Dr. Moody, how are you doing?
Hey, I don't know if I can live up to the intro. I feel like I might have to go just now. Like that was enough right there.
Look what I got here. I got this open. Nice. I got some highlights here. Nice. So I hope you're ready, man.
I'm ready. Let's go. You know what? How much value can we give in the next 30 to 45 minutes? That's the goal.
See, I love your energy, man. I love your energy.
Let's go.
Burnout. Was it something where you woke up one day and you just wanted to throw in the towel? How did you find out that you were burned out?
That is actually the best question. That's the first question. And that's the question that like nobody asks themselves until they're like snapping their computer keyboard in half like me. Or when you're like thinking about maybe killing yourself like me. The problem with burnout is a clinical like kind of constellation of things. It's 3 things. It's lack of personal accomplishment, emotional exhaustion, and a depersonalization. And the kind of the way I think of it is like I don't care about you, and I don't care if you thought you gave me a bad Google review. Those are kind of like the general ways I think about it. But I think a critical part of diagnostic burnout is also like you have to it's very insidious. It's very like slow, comes on gradual, and the way I kind of think of it is like, if you think you've had a bad day every day for like the last year, it's not just a bad day. Like there's some structural problems that you have to get at and to get this under control because something is out of control in your life.
Wow. You're already coming out the gate firing. If you think you've had a bad day over and over again, then it's not just a bad day. It's something. It's signs. It's warning signs. I love that. So, what are some of those warning signs that you share in your book where I can start to notice that I'm maybe headed towards that burnout road?
Well, okay. So now the thing that I think is important is everybody. Everybody's different. You're different than me. We're all different from our wives and our families. I think that burnout manifests itself a little bit differently as well. Like some people like me, like I'm kind of a hot reactor, as you probably can imagine. So like I get angry about stuff. And I kind of like get a little excited and angry. So like when I was mad about, something that happened in the office, I snapped my keyboard. Some people get sad. Some people get quiet. Okay. They kind of go into their shell. Some people commit suicide. So I think it's a very diverse, I guess is probably the best word I can use for it. It's a very variable presentation, or the way people will show up as burned out. But I think the real question, the central question I think people should ask themselves is like, is this how I thought my life was going to turn out? Like, and you're kind of reacting against it. To me, that's what burnout is. And then the other two components I feel like are critical for burnout is not only do you get this, kind of lack of compassion, those types of things, but you kind of get to the point where you feel hopeless.
Yeah.
And you feel like this is not going to change. It's not going to get better. And you feel like powerless. You feel like you can't do anything about it.
Wow, man, I've been there multiple times.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think
a fighter. You are a fighter. You're like, okay. Everyone has to know Darryll has like a beautiful soul. So you just have to know that he's like an unbelievable, amazing human being, and you must like try to get a piece of Darryll somehow. Yeah. But you have been your journey, I think, is unbelievable and incredible, and it's such an important part of your story. But what you've done, I think, is the most impressive.
Well, thank you for running a commercial on my own show. but they know me. They need to know you. That's why we're talking about you today. And man, I thank you. But also I think the same of you. And honestly, and not that I get into this to get gifts, but so far you have sent me the best gift as a guest or an event. Like I was so impressed, and I want to give you
little kind of fruits and nuts.
Yeah. And I want to be fully transparent with you. That type of stuff is not something that I'm really into, but I saw it, and my wife loves that stuff, and our anniversary was coming up. And I was this close to removing all your branding.
You should have. You definitely steal that, own that little, credibility. You're like, look, honey, look what I got for you.
Oh, sweetie, I just because,
That is awesome. I'm glad
I didn't do it. I gave you full credit. So she probably likes you more than me now.
Well, but she knows that you are the man. So.
But thank you so much. Such a kind gift.
My pleasure. Absolutely.
And the book is amazing. I haven't read it all, but I've read a good chunk of it. And there's some really good stuff in here. In fact, remind me to connect you with a friend of mine, Dr. Richard, after this, because he has a tool on work-life balance that just goes great with this material.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I really like that you talk about in the book is setting I think it was called the agreements.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'd love for you to talk about that concept and that strategy, because I think that's so important when we're trying to avoid burnout.
Well, the thing that I always figure is like wherever you are in your life, you got there somehow. There was a process or things that you went through to get there. And I think a lot of times it boils down to what sort of agreements did you make with yourself? Like I know you, when you were, going through high school, like one agreement you probably made with yourself is like, I'm going to put in the time and the effort to be a D1 athlete.
Yeah.
That was an agreement you made with yourself. I mean, and then for me, my agreement was like, well, I know if I want to be a doctor, I got to do X, Y, and Z in undergrad, and I got to go to medical school, and then I got to, work my behind off for 7 more years, and be done with my training. So, and I think there's that component of what are the agreements are you making, and I think the flip side of that is what are the things are you not saying no to? So you have to be careful that you agree to things that are positive for you, and you say no to things that are negative. And it's very again, this is a kind of an insidious little process, because you might acquiesce, like when someone's like you're negotiating for a salary, or you're talking about, productivity or those types of things, and you say, well, I don't need to be paid for, whatever this other value that I'm bringing to the table. Like, well, yeah, maybe you should be, but don't not say no to a bad agreement. And then the way I kind of look at this is like, if you want to really get down to the base of what your life is based on and how to reconstruct it, let's list your agreements. And then again, I'm a simple guy. I'm like, does this agreement bring you joy or pain? And if it brings you joy, then get more of it. If it brings you pain, let's change that or make a new agreement. Some of them, I say, like coaching my kids' sports teams, that's a little bit of joy and pain, but mostly I think it's kind of easy to break those down. And then I think it also gets people to examine how they got to where they are.
Wow. That's so good, man. And guys, I want you guys to get this book. It is phenomenal, man. It challenged me in some areas, in full transparency. I'm reading through it, and I'm like, man, do I talk about that live, or because my wife is really going to hold me accountable to that? But it's so important, defining your why, the habits that are in the book. I love the agreement concept. I love that you challenge people to create a vision for what they want. And I think that's phenomenal, man. I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about this support group that you have for physicians.
Okay.
Because I don't know much about that, and I think that would be great benefit to our listeners.
Oh, well, it's something that we try to do every month, although you can imagine in the last 6 or 8 months, people have been so scattered. It's been hard to even get people together. We've been trying to do some Zoom versions of it. I try to record it and get it out to people. But it's been a little challenging just because of time constraints and lack of ability to actually get together. But the goal of that, when I started that, I've been doing it for about a year and a half. The goal was really to let people acknowledge the fact that burnout exists and they might have burnout. So kind of normalize and open up that conversation about it. Yeah. And actually one of my friends who came is an OB, and she was like, one of the things that really gets to me about what's happening is like, I feel like I'm a full-time mother and a full-time, doctor, and I'm sucking a little bit at both. And like, that's sometimes the challenge or the situation that people get put in, or the box. And we'll talk a little about that more if you want, but kind of the box that they get put in or put themselves in. So what we really, the goal of the support group is to let people know, like, hey, this is a safe environment. Let's talk about it. It's completely private. And because I think a lot of physicians have this fear that if anyone knows that they're a human being, that somehow then they can't be a good doctor if they actually they get sad or they have problems. Like everybody's got problems. So it's like, let's make it okay for me to talk about it and you to learn from it. And we learn from each other.
Oh man, that's so good. And I know that because even as a pastor, that same attention is there. Anytime, really anybody that's perceived as a leader, there's this pressure to be perfect and to have it all together. And I love that you're creating this safe space for people to say, look, I have challenges. I need some areas of growth. I don't know who I can talk to, but this group is a solution to that. How do they find out more about that group, and how can they see if they can participate?
Well, thus far, I've only been kind of doing a local version of that, kind of for the docs in my town. Okay. I definitely could consider expanding that, and we can do like an online thing. I would think even maybe like a Facebook group might be probably the most important. I can, if there's interest, I would be happy to do like some live streams on my Facebook page. Jeff Moody MD is my Facebook page. So just if people want to up to that, let's do it.
Yeah,
that's a great idea. Thank you.
And talk about your show. I know I came on and I shared my story, but talk about that and what's your heart and vision behind your show?
I'm doing a live stream like Darryll is doing as well, but it's called Burnout Breakthroughs. And really, what I'm trying to do is, again, let's take the curtain, pull back the curtain on burnout. And then the thing that I'm really trying to do with that is, and part of it's live like this. So I think some people tune in just because they want to see if it's a train wreck or not. So try not to spill my water on myself or, like throw up or whatever. But I think the entertainment value aside, we try to really make sure that the content is useful. And the thing that I kind of look at, I think if you're looking at like a prism, I think of burnout like a prism, and it's like, let's turn the prism and look at it from a different angle. And what is somebody who's a lawyer? Like I had a lawyer on last week, and I'm like, lawyers probably think about burnout in a different way than I do. And like, what resources do they use? And like, maybe they're doing something that like they've been doing for 20 years, but like, it would be like a bomb going off if we used it in medicine, you know, in stuff we're doing. So I think the more you can learn about an area from other angles, the better it is for everybody.
I so agree. And I don't know if you were going for this in the book, but one of the things that I was getting from it was, I mean, you kept talking about these walls, like the spiritual wall, the financial wall. I think there was like a mental wall, and it's almost like you feel a little trapped, like and I don't know if that's what you were going for, but talk to me about the concept of the walls and why'd you use the terminology?
Well, I call it like the burnout box, and so the reason I thought of that, like when I started to think about this and started to write the book, I was like, you know what, like, your life is kind of like a box, and it's something that hopefully you've constructed something around you that's supportive. It protects you. It serves you. It's a place to live. You can learn and grow there. But I think unless you're very like purposeful and very conscious of how you're building that, it then becomes this constraining thing. It could be like a box, like a coffin that you end up in the ground. Okay. So what I like to have people do is like, let's define what your walls are, and then let's rebuild them in a way that serves you instead of maybe something that's harming you. And I think for me, one of the biggest ones always is the mental wall. And I know you are huge with that, but like, it's like, if you get your mind right and the way you think about things right and your spirituality and a lot of those things right, everything else becomes very simple because you're coming from a place of that serves you and serves others, and then everything else just flows. Like the rest of your life is very a natural kind of evolution of those things. So
yeah. And I love it. So that is kind of what you were going for.
Yeah. Burnout box. Yeah.
There we go. So I was like, man, because this is making me feel like I'm, I love how you reframe it though. And what appears to be a trap can be a springboard almost. And
you support you.
Yes. I love that. One of the things that I know is challenging for the people that I know who really struggle with unhealthy boundaries is this not knowing what to cut, and because that's always a recipe, right? You work less, you have a true shutdown time, you're not working 30 hours a day.
Yeah. I know you do.
You know what I mean? And so, I remember the first time I heard about this concept, and I'm not the best at it. I'm like, what do I cut? What is your advice to those people who are looking and they know they're crossed the limit, man? They know they're working too much. What do they cut?
Well, okay. Number one, self-care. Okay. Yep. If there's no Darryll left, you can't help people. Okay. Yeah. So number one, and for physicians, this is really hard because you spend 10 plus years being told everyone else comes first except you.
Yeah.
So then I think that's kind of what has put us in the whole profession, in this burnout box that we're in. Excuse me. But I think number one, self-care. Number two, one thing we talk about a lot, with my friends and clients is like, no is a complete sentence. Like, hey, we need you to be on this committee that'll take 10,000 hours and we're not going to pay you. No.
Like yeah.
No. And number three, there's an exercise that I like to do, and you can conceptualize this how you want, but I love to do this exercise because it's very actually calming for me and it's very focusing for me.
Okay.
And I call it I know I'm being successful when. And then you just list like 10 or 15 things. And then guess what? Everything else falls away. Like, I know I'm being successful when I'm being a good dad. I know I'm being successful when I'm being a good partner, a good spouse, a good leader, when I'm learning, when I'm growing, when I'm exercising, when I'm taking care of myself, when I'm eating well, and just whatever whatever thing that, and this is obviously specific to each person, but then the cool thing about that is like, then you just are, okay, I'm doing this. Yeah. And like everything else is noise. Like, hey, I want you to come over to my house tomorrow night and make noodles. Like, no, that's not a thing. That's not what I need to do to be successful. It's like, it's right here. And then as your life, as you get your life under control, then you can start adding things back. So, and also, I know as busy as you are, I think just outsourcing some of those things too. I know you and I are both very hands-on. I know, but it's like you gotta have some faith, and let people help you.
Oh yeah,
because that's the only way. There's only one D-Stins, I like to call you. There's only one D-Stins, and we gotta leverage you. We gotta. There's only so many hours a day. Like, let's leverage the amazingness of you, and do that. And I know you do that, but. Sometimes you just need to remind each other of it, I think. So.
Yeah. So, one of the things that I think is unique about me is, and I was just saying this to an addiction recovery group that I talked to. I said, it's so funny because in one day I can literally talk to someone who has 4 felonies on the record and made a lot of poor decisions and has this crazy background of a life story. And then talk to someone who has 3 degrees, and it's like, it's so amazing. And I'm always, and there's so many different people who connect with me that I always want to give people something. So I know there's going to be some people watching this, whether right now or replay, that say, easy for you to say, Dr. Jeff Moody. I mean, you're successful, you're wealthy. Look at your jacket you've got on.
I'll take it off.
I can't shut it off. What would you say to that person who just feels like they can't set healthy boundaries until they get to a certain level of success?
I would say maybe that person or those people maybe need to get to know themselves a little better first. And because one thing we talk a lot about in our training, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Because it's like literally, I started school when I was 5. I finished when I was 33, and I didn't take any breaks. So it's like, it is a ungodly long period of time for you to wait until something else happens. Like, so it's like, and I get the fact that you kind of, unfortunately, you and I were kind of like the finished products. Like, we've been through a lot of stuff, and it, like I said, it's easy for me to sit here with whatever jacket and say X, Y, and Z, but it's like everybody goes through a process. And 5 years ago, I was thinking about killing myself, and it's a process that you go to get there. So if you really want to boil it down, the way that I talk to people, if they want help now, I would say, find the one thing in your life that is really impacting you in a negative way. Think of one thing that you can do and give yourself a deadline.
That's good.
And
I love that. I love that.
Do it. Like, I'm a simple man, and that's kind of what I had to do. Like, I had this like horrible like construct of the way I was living my life, and I had to be the most productive doctor and X, Y, and Z. And I was like, wait a minute, those were only things that I was telling myself. Like, no one else is telling me that. I'm like, let's deconstruct that and then do something, have a plan, and then actually do it. So it's just so once you do that, then do the next thing. Then do the next thing. It's an iterative process, just step by step by step.
Wow. Love it, man. This is great. I'm really enjoying, and I know you guys are learning a lot from my friend here. Let's have some fun for a second. I want to see if this will work. Messy screen. Can you see that?
That is so many screens. I love it.
So we're gonna talk about Guestio at the end. But can you see this guy right here? Can you guys see that?
That is me. It's very, very short hair. That's me unwrapping my book.
And I love it, man. You look so happy. But I wanted to go here and show you guys this because I want you to connect with my friend and then watch this. See this webinar here? Talk to us about this webinar. 5 steps doctors use to finally break free from burnout, sleep like a baby at night, and reclaim their energy. Wow, what can people expect from that, my friend?
Well, that is something that basically I in that webinar, basically that's a webinar to help people understand kind of where they are and what they can do. And we have an online course which I love, and I've put a lot of time and my heart and soul into it. But the thing I love about the online course is people learn differently, people access information and use information differently. So I have the book, I have an audio part, kind of version of the book. We have this course, and everybody, I think, I want them to be able to get the help they need in the way that they feel is the most impactful or useful to them. And one of the things, one of the problems with medicine is, again, this whole like God, Superman complex or whatever. And if you're having a problem, no one else can know. And so then if you have a problem, no one's going to know. So how can I get help for a problem if I don't want to go to see a counselor and run it through my insurance, or don't run it through my insurance and pay cash? One of the things I like about the course, which the webinar kind of takes you through that process of kind of where you are and how you can get better, is the course is like totally online. You can access it. You can, do it on your phone. You can do it while you're commuting. I feel so strongly that I just want people to get the help they need. However, whoever it's from. If it's from you, great. If it's from me, great. If that's from somebody else, great. Please get better. That's the bottom line. Reach out, take the cape off, Superman, Superwoman. Take the cape off and get the help you need. As you can tell, I get super excited about it. It makes me want to reach through the screen and tell people, shake them, come on.
Yeah, I get it, man, and that's why I love you so much, because you're in it for the right reasons. You truly care about this message. Let me ask you the $1 million question. If one of the things I know about consistently streaming is we're constantly trying to say the same thing in different ways, and we want people to really get one main concept, right? That's what this is about, burnout, right? What would you say that maybe you don't have the chance to really express like you want to, that you would really want listeners to know? Or what is your reoccurring thing that you're like, if you just get this will transform your entire life? What is that core message for you?
I would say that burnout affects everyone. So I'm a doc. Yeah, you're a pastor and a former football player, high level athlete. Burnout affects everybody. Every single person who I have on my live stream, I'm you know what? At the end of the day, we all put our pants on one leg at a time, or put our skirts on, one leg at a time. But burnout affects everybody. Everyone tells me, they're oh, I read your book, but other than the fact that the stories are about medicine, it's exactly the same in law and dentistry and mortgage brokers. But evidently, mortgage brokers are super duper burned out right now.
Yeah.
So burnout affects everyone, and I think my dirty little secret about this, I'm you know what? We're going to get your burnout handled, but really what I'm doing is I'm teaching you how to construct a better life.
Yeah.
And better, more fulfilling life. And the side effect is your burnout gets better. So that's kind of my dirty little secret of this whole thing, is yes, burnout is awful. And yes, it's very impactful and damaging. And I hope you get help, but I want you to learn how to construct and build and live a better life.
Absolutely. And that you do, my friend. What I've got a lot going through my mind right now. I love it because you mentioned something that's so important. I found that in my Second Chance Athletes book is they're oh, I'm not an athlete, I'm not an athlete. I'm well, that's really just the main stories I tell, but the principles are transferable to any real industry. And it's the same thing with this burnout thing. And you coach and you support people. Where do you see people fail when it comes to implementing the strategies that can help them?
I think part of it is, I would call it the medical or scientific term is inertia of rest. Like, it's hard to get people off the dime. It's hard to change habits and behaviors. So that's why I talk a lot about like habit change in the book.
Yep.
And that's why, like, if you only, that's why I like really try to boil down to those three things. I'm like, if you can only do one thing, then this will prove to you that you can do this. So like I said, you got the mental wall and the spiritual wall and like all this other stuff going on. I'm like, people are way overwhelmed. I'm like, let's boil it way down. Let's scale it way back. Let's find one thing to fix it, and then give yourself a deadline. Let's talk about the things that that you're doing when you're being successful. Let's boil it way back down and only do those things. And I think sometimes, I don't know if it's, I think some of it's fear. People are scared of changing. I know for me, like, I was scared of being a leader. I don't know if you ever found that in your life.
Yeah.
But I was scared of like kind of putting myself out there and like exposing myself. And well, look at me now. Like, you can't shut me up. But I was kind of, I kind of couched it as I thought, oh, I'm just a private person. But I think really I was kind of being scared of being a leader. Is really what it was. So I think there's an element of fear for people changing things.
That's interesting. And I would say I definitely faced that. Anyone who knows my journey knows that I was super insecure and afraid, but also to speak. What was your why? Like, why were you so scared to be a leader?
I think it was that exposing yourself. Like being vulnerable, being out there. And then finally I got to the point where I was like, you know what? I don't care. Like, I care more about helping people than I do about what the blowback, for me.
Yeah. I mean, was it like, I don't want to like, the question I really want to ask you is like, what were you so afraid people would find out?
Well, it's just that, like, the fact that I had thought about killing myself, like, like this, that I'm not Superman, And you're not like Superman, super doctor, like I'm a human being just like everybody else. I'm like, but at the end of the day, now that's like my message. Like, I want and plus I want my doctor who's taking care of me to be like that. I don't want like some super doctor who thinks they're never wrong. I'm like, everybody makes mistakes, It's like, let's acknowledge the fact that we're human beings and help each other through this thing called life, for God's sake.
Yeah. And it's funny. Where do you think this belief came from that the moment I step into leadership, I got to have it all together? Where does that pressure come from?
Well, again, that's a little bit of like the God complex, Superman, Superwoman, kind of thing. I think historically leaders have been looked at as these paragons of virtue. They're perfect. We need to go for this ideal. And I think now, luckily, like the human race, and maybe we've kind of got to the point where everyone's doing the best they can. And I'm going to do that too. And I'm going to make mistakes, and I'm going to learn from those, and we're going to all get better together, I guess.
Wow. You just gave me another book idea. Like, I'm going to call it, The Hero's Kryptonite. And we're just going to look at some of the most respected leaders of all time and find their baggage, and find their weakness and their kryptonite. So that
what was the switch? What flipped the switch for them? I think that'd be a great book. I would read that book.
It would be. And I wholeheartedly agree with you, and I mean, if people could just grasp that, how many people would be so much more free to just be themselves and lead, and and I want to thank you for being transparent about your suicidal thoughts and your lack of boundaries and your complexes and your insecurities, because to me that's how we change this narrative, because you're still a doctor. I mean, you've still got success. I mean, you've got a great book, you've got a great program, and but yet you had this past, and I know you still got, because we're friends, we still got current stuff going on in our lives now. And I always tell people this: you can still be Superman or Superwoman and have kryptonite.
Yeah, exactly.
and that's all it is. And but we need each other. And I want you guys to connect with my friend. This has been an amazing conversation, man. I'm going to run a couple of commercials. Before I do that, though, what parting thoughts do you have for our our listeners today?
I would say if you think you're burned out, you probably are. If you even if that thought even enters your mind, you probably are. Number one. Number two, raise your hand, get help, talk to Darryl, talk to me, find us, find something that you think is useful to help you get through from where you are or start the path towards a more fulfilling and successful life. I think getting to know yourself and your priorities and your faith and those types of things is critical. Once you know that, everything else becomes very simple. I think people, unfortunately, are chasing the next shiny object, I think sometimes now. So it's let's find out what's the priority for you.
Yeah, man. I you're so right. That shiny object is hard. I mean, and I know being a doctor, you see it all the time. There's the next credential. There's who drives the best car. There's
I'm the chairman. I'm the whatever king, God, whatever. I mean,
I seen a guy one time.
He's part of the reason why, I went into a private practice is there's this ladder when you go through training. You're at the bottom of the rung when you're medical school, then you're the top medical student, then you're at the bottom of the rung of your training, and then you're the top at your training, then you're the bottom of the rung, in academic medicine. And I'm just there's not another ladder I can go up. I'm I can't do it.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, and I get it. Same things happen. It happens in every industry. There's always a ladder, right? Even in my profession of speaking, there's people see the TEDx and I got to get the TEDx. I got to get the TEDx, and I'm like, do you really? And I get it. It's a credential, right? Especially I have 2 now, so I mean I've been using it like crazy. 2-time TEDx speaker, and but I didn't do TEDx for the credentials. I did it because I liked the concept of I had an idea worth spreading. Yes. And I talk to people like, how do I get a TEDx speaker? And I'm like, well, what's your idea worth spreading? Yeah, I got a story. I'm like, well, we all got a story. What's the idea? Yeah. And so, man, anyways, I'm getting on my high horse right now, but
congratulations.
But you get it though, man. And so, anyways, this is amazing. You're amazing. Thank you for sharing your time and your genius with us. I want everybody to connect with you. I want you to go grab a copy of this book, The Doctor is Burned Out. You can go to his website. My team will put that on the screen, and go ahead and check him out. Make sure you watch that webinar and engage with him. Watch his live show. I get the notifications when he goes live now, and I try to pop in when I can. Nice. Always good stuff. Love his energy. You got exposed to all of that. I want to show you guys this resource that I just find phenomenal if you're into the podcasting realm. And even if you have a live show like Jeff and I do, I am in the business of helping others and exposing you to all the tools that I have that can help you be successful as well. And so check this out. There's this tool. Oops, that's my. So there's this tool. It's called Guestio.
Okay.
And it is the world's top guest and platforms. Okay. It's like a marketplace where you can find professional guests, or you can get on the right platforms to spread your message. It's broken down to all these categories. You see all these people that you have access to. So you might be sitting there being like, man, how do I get access to Manny Pacquiao or David Meltzer or some of these other people? Well, they're on this platform. And some of them, Manny Pacquiao, $8,000 on here, but John Lee Dumas is $350. Now, I haven't personally bought a speaker here because I'm actually connected with some of these guys and I can get to them. But if you have no clue how to get a hold of them, this is a great platform for you, and not just for you to get to them, but for them to get to you. And so I just encourage you, man. It's a really good platform, and there are a ton of paid speakers. I'll show you the back end of this too. I don't know how. Let me show you this. Watch this. You can browse this, right? It's broken up to categories. Look at this podcasting thing, and then watch this price. Okay, look at all these free speakers, and these are some great speakers, man. And so don't think this is about the money, because it's not. But anyone who understands business know that things cost. And so I just wanted to show you guys that tool.
Cool. Yeah.
And if you're interested in it, just go to guestio.com. I think you can sign up for free. At least I did. And I think the way that they make money is if you book somebody within their platform. I think they get a percentage or something like that. I do have an invitation link. And so you guys can hit me up, but you don't have to go through me. So I just want you to use this tool because I think it's a phenomenal platform. And I actually know the guy, Travis, who's pioneering this initiative, and I want to support him in his work. So go check that out. And then one last commercial. I want to connect more intimately with you. What does that mean? I want to go from you being out there where I can't see you to be you being right here where I can text you. Text message is the easiest way to get to me, to talk to me, to learn from me. And I have a text community now, 770-407-5177. I send messages to my text community. Watch this. I'm going to send a message right now live to my text community so you guys can know how this works. So sometimes I'll send messages like this, right? I'll get these bursts of inspirations and I'll go, hey, I am on a live show right now and I'm actually promoting this text community to my live watchers. And I told them that I would send a message to you. So you are now a part of my live show. And I just want to tell you that when you have creative ideas, don't question yourself. Don't second guess yourself. Just do it because who cares? I don't know if anyone's going to like this. The people that are on live stream right now might be tuning out because they think it's awkward. You might be irritated that I'm sending you a message that might not make sense and it's in the middle of your workday. But either way, I hope that you know when your gut tells you to do something, do it. That's all I got, my friends. Till next time.
Perfect.
And then I just hit send. And then so now they all get that. And then they'll send me messages back. Thank you. Don't ever text me again. And I want you to join the text community. So there's the number again, 770-407-5177. Last commercial, our next guest is Nick Reynolds, a.k.a. the Shoe Baker. And I want you guys to meet him, get to know him. This guy makes custom shoes. And he's got all these templates. I mean, you guys are going to learn. He's like one of the most creative guys I've seen. He played football with me at Central Michigan. And now he's creative as ever. And so we're going to talk about his creativity and innovation and all that stuff. You get to see some of the cool shoes that he makes. It's really awesome. And so I can't wait for you to meet him and connect with him. All right. Dr. Moody, thank you for enduring my commercials.
No, it's awesome. Awesome.
We adore you. But pretty soon these will be billion-dollar sponsorships, and it'll be worth it, and I'll send you a check or something, man. But thank you so much, man. You were very helpful, very informative today. And I know people that are watching this live or watching the replay are going to either connect with you or make a decision that changed their life. So thank you for helping us today.
Absolutely. My pleasure. And everybody get on with Darryll. He's the man.
Thank you.